This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Mike Coppinger here in Quebec, Canada. Mike, good to see you. Happy New Year. What does a new year and the festive season look like for Mike Coppinger?
The festive season, a lot of work, good weather in Miami. Now we're in some cold weather here, not used to it, but I'm here for the fight. It's going to be a good one. But I do wonder, what is the cutoff for saying Happy New Year? What do you think it is?
Your guess is as good as mine because I'm starting to kind of fall into that trap now where it's nearly 2 weeks into the new year. Maybe we need to leave it behind.
I think maybe you could do it before the 15th. Maybe the 15th is the cutoff.
I'm going to go with that, Mike.
We're safe now, I think.
We're safe for now. But yeah, we're safe for now. But here we are, Beterbiev-Smith. Just get your thoughts on this main event. Certainly in the UK, there's a lot of hope on Callum's shoulders. A lot of people think that he can pull off this, what has been deemed an upset. What do you believe goes down?
Well, I don't think it's deemed an upset. I think it's definitely a big upset if he wins the fight. I think he's a live underdog, but this is a guy that lost every second of every round against Canelo Alvarez. Now he's stepping up to the second time to the elite level. So, the body of work on the elite level, one fight, not good. But now he has another chance here, and he can right all those wrongs. And I think 175 is definitely a better weight for Callum Smith. I think he's, look, see how big he is. I mean, look how much bigger he is than his brother Liam, and they're, one weight class apart. Theoretically, no, I'm saying they would have been, right? Like he was at 168 and Liam's at 160 now, and you can tell he looks, well above him. So I think 175 is much better. But what concerns me is the inactivity. Callum Smith has not fought many times. We've seen a lot of guys lose coming off long bouts of inactivity over these past couple of years, whether it's Stephen Fulton, or Errol Spence, or Jamel Charlo. So Callum's going to have to catch him.
That's something which I wanted to touch on, the inactivity point, because both men haven't been active. Obviously, Beterbiev beat Anthony Yarde early last year, and then he had his issue with his jaw. Comes back. Now he's looking to go into this Callum Smith fight. Callum Smith hasn't fought, I think we said, for almost 17 months or something like that. Both inactive, but do you think that on both sides it will show? We will see ring rust on both sides on Saturday?
I'm less concerned about Beterbiev's inactivity simply because he's been fighting top-level world-class opponents, and he did fight 12 months ago against Anthony Yarde, who I think is a pretty good fighter, whereas Callum Smith has had, 2 fights at 175, and both of those fights have been against, low-level opposition, fights to get him some confidence back. So, but look, Callum Smith he's a very good fighter. He showed it in a lot against good fighters, and George Groves, and, lesser guys like Hassan Endam. But again, we only have the Canelo fights to go off of an elite level. And now he's stepping up to this level, because Beterbiev, only fighter in boxing, as we know, only champion with a 100% knockout ratio. He's a pound-for-pound guy, and he is getting older, but he hasn't shown that he's old yet.
I just want to get your thoughts, Mike. Yesterday we saw the news come out about an atypical finding in Artur Beterbiev's testing from December 6th. I want to get your thoughts, your understanding on that entire scenario, where things sit with it, if it's all been quashed. What do you know?
It's so tough with these situations. I think that we still don't know how the human body always works with these things. But yes, there were some elevated levels, and they did more testing, and nothing came back. So he did not fail a drug test, to be completely clear. Maybe there was some, discrepancy there. And I know Eddie's unhappy about it, and that's his job to protect his fighter. But drug testing the way it is, there's nothing you can really do. It seems like maybe there's something there, but again, he went through the protocols and he's cleared to fight. And he didn't test positive for anything. That's the main point.
Do you think he's rolled up Artur Beterbiev for that news to come out in fight week?
I think if you're human, it has to, right? I think it's an unwelcome distraction. So, maybe that helps Callum. Who knows?
Another unwelcome distraction for him might be all of the talk about the Bivol fight. Now, I want to get your understanding of that scenario, Mike. I imagine you're probably a bit more in there than what I am. But it seems to be that Bivol, his team have come out saying that they've got an agreement in place to face Artur Beterbiev in Saudi as part of Bivol's 2-fight deal. Now, that's not including Beterbiev having a deal agreed, but certainly on Dimitri's part. But that's excluding Callum's name completely. Can you tell me if it's an undisputed title bout completely? Is it just if Beterbiev comes through? What can you tell me?
I mean, my understanding is it's for Beterbiev, and Beterbiev hasn't agreed to his side. But the Saudis are going to get whatever fight they want. And I'm sure if Callum Smith beats Beterbiev, they'll just slide Callum Smith in there and they can get him to agree to the deal. It'll be career high money. We know that. I don't think it's any concern. I'm sure we're going to see Bivol fight the winner of this fight in Saudi Arabia later this year.
Going down to the theme of the American route, we haven't caught up in a while, Mike. Haney-Garcia not taking place next. Last time we spoke, it seemed to be that everyone was aligned, everybody wanted to see that. Not the case now. Just your take on it.
I mean, look, it's a big fight because it's two big names, but we all know what's going to happen in that fight. And, it's tough to give Ryan any sort of chance after the way he looked against Duarte, though he did come back and knock him out, and credit to him for that. And, he did have some moments against Gervonta Davis, got knocked out. So, yeah, if he gets a win over Rolly Romero, that does make the Haney fight bigger. On the other hand, we saw what happened with Wilder and Joshua. And if the fight is ready to be made right now, and all the money you're going to make, you risk losing that. And you could also lose to Rolly Romero. You could lose to Rolly Romero if you're Ryan Garcia, right? We don't know yet. So I think it's a risk. Maybe it's a calculated risk. But I think for Devin, there's a lot of options for him there, and he's one of the best fighters in the world, as you and I saw in San Francisco.
What do you know about what might be next for Devin now?
I think at 140 there's not a ton of options at the moment because he does like to stay active, and unless you're going to fight a Subriel Matias, I don't know that a lot of guys are looking to fight him, but considering that risk-reward ratio. Tio's obviously busy with Jermaine Ortiz. I don't think there's a lot of options at 140, but if he wants to go to 147, the fight I want to see is Devin Haney and Jon Boots Ennis. I think that's a fantastic fight.
On the Ryan Garcia front and those Rolly Romero talks, do you know anything about them, where things currently sit with them?
Just that there's talks. I don't think it's an incredibly complicated deal to put together. But, I think there's still an outside shot that we see the Devin Haney-Ryan Garcia fight. You never know. It's maybe be salvaged.
Just moving forwards and away from that one, moving up to the heavyweight division, Anthony Joshua Francis Ngannou was announced, getting an official press conference this coming week, but just your take on seeing that one coming out into fruition.
Not surprised. I think it makes a lot of sense. They needed a dance partner for Joshua after Wilder got upset. There's not a lot of, I don't think there's any better option right now than Francis Ngannou after the way he looked against Tyson Fury, and obviously Fury and Usyk are busy with each other. So, look, Francis Ngannou, this is his chance to prove that was no fluke. He doesn't have to beat Joshua to prove it was no fluke. He just has to put up a good fight. If he gets knocked out, we're going to say, well, Tyson didn't train very hard, right? That's going to be the narrative, whether it's true or not. Now, Joshua, everyone's saying he's back. We don't know that he's back yet. It was one fight. He did not look good against Robert Helenius. Did not look good against Jermaine Franklin. But he looked very confident against Otto Wallin. I wonder how much of that confidence comes from their experience from sparring. Right? He knows he can beat this guy. But fair play to Joshua. I thought Wallin had a good chance to upset him. A lot of people did. And Joshua took him out, broke his nose, and I like the confidence he showed, the power. If Joshua could do it a second time against a Francis Ngannou, knock him out, he's definitely back then.
Final thing from me, Mike. A few days ago, we saw a video surface of Errol Spence Jr. coming out of what seems to be eye surgery. And I want to get your understanding on that, the injury, and if that's put paid to any potential rematch taking place with Terence Crawford now.
I don't think we're going to see the rematch. I really don't. I mean, first you have the issue of the weight. Crawford won the fight, and the rematch clause said that the winner got to pick the weight for the rematch. So Crawford's not going to just move the weight without concessions. Secondly, rematch clauses, as we know, do not just, they're not valid in perpetuity. They're not, when is Spence going to be ready to fight? We're talking about a fight that happened last July. Usually rematch clauses last for a few months, and then there's injury extensions. There's no way that there's no way it could be like, oh yeah, let's just do the fight in July, and a year later, and Crawford would have to agree to that. Would he want to? Maybe he would. I don't know, but I think Crawford has a lot of options out there. I think Crawford and Tim Tszyu is a huge fight. Boots Ennis is out there. Crawford's talked about fighting Canelo Alvarez. So I think I would rather see Errol Spence get a fight at 154, get a comeback, get a couple of wins. I don't think it's a commercially viable fight.
Mike, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. You've got a few things to do now. So thanks for speaking to me, and I'm sure I'll catch you as the week progresses.
I appreciate it as always. Thank you.